fans of Zander and Zander. I am addressing you today in light of my recent loss. As you may be able to see, I have, optimistically, 25% of my hair remaining on my head. The rest of it is gone forever, and let me explain why. I recently took part in a lab experiment for a certain vaccine, because I am so selfless and brave, and due to the volatile nature of this early stage experiment, I became violently ill and even began having issues with my skin. This didn't affect my hair, but you'll see what happens. In a rush to treat my illness and epidermic afflictions, I was given a steroid that had an unintended effect, but that, when combined with the skin sores, led to the hardening of my skin to near superhuman proportions. Now, this did not have an effect on my hair, but we're getting there. On my way out of the treatment ward, there was a transportation accident and my gurney slipped out of control and smashed through the viewing window of an operation room. I sustained cuts all over from the glass, but that wasn't what happened to my hair. I landed directly on the operating table, which had fortunately just been vacated, and my IV bag somehow switched on the skull saw, but that wasn't what cut my hair. The saw swung out over my head and bumped a high-intensity laser tool, turning it on and reflecting it off the saw blade directly at my head. Of course, my superhuman skin was impenetrable, but I felt something happening to my hair. The doctors rushed into the room as this happened and soon managed to turn the tools off, but not before the laser tool cut most of my hair off, somehow in a perfect trim. So that's what happened. I wanted to get that off my chest before starting the show.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Zander and Zander. I'm Zander.
And I'm Zander. Thank you once again for joining us every Monday and Friday at 7 p.m. Central.
Now, I would personally like to thank everyone for the outpouring of support that I've received for all these tragedies. And some of you apparently don't quite believe all of this and asked for video proof of what happened. Unfortunately, it has all been confiscated by my insurance company, but we have managed to recreate some of the circumstances of what happened.
But he bites his nails on it, and so he went out to the store and bought fake nails and put them on.
You're kidding.
So that he can make the
Texturizer.
3 hair cuttings. Oh, this is not. I'm one of those.
You can also just dump.
I don't know what this does.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. Okay. Okay. This is gonna be so fun. Okay, how do you normally part it? This is interesting.
There's no more hair. Everybody's asking, look, Zander, there's something fundamentally different about you. What is it? And I just like to say that I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior this past week. Also, I got a haircut. All done?
Oh gosh, no. She's only
Yes. All done. All
Just leave
done.
it that way. It's short here, and then.
Oops.
What you do? You're just saying oops for funsies. You think I believe you? Like, literally nothing happened. Like, nothing different. My thought was, what possibly could have gone wrong?
Everything.
I believe.
You're bald now. Just all the hair gone.
Oops. I
In
hit the
one
wrong
stroke.
pressure point, Lucas, and it all disappeared.
I feel like I do have all the power in my hands, though. I feel like all of a sudden I could just shave off one of your eyebrows.
Not with the 5/8 clip on there. I don't know what kind of eyebrows you think I have, but...
Make sure there's no part that it's shaved. Is it good? It's got hair all over his face. It's fine.
Give us a spin, Lucas.
What am I checking?
Well, I hope that piece of evidence satisfies all you doubters out there.
Well, thank you very much. And now we're going to get to some messages from Instagram. This first one comes from Lexi, who says, "Hi boys, what is the perfect sandwich? Toppings, bread, spread, and way to cut the bread?"
I think this is very simple. I just came up with an answer immediately, and that is because there is one sandwich that is the most basic, and that is the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's timeless, it's classic, you can't go wrong with it. Bread, wheat bread of course, I'm not a child. Peanut butter, Smooth or crunchy, it doesn't matter. Again, I'm not a child. Jelly, of your choice. Whatever's best. I'm not a child. Either that or just any hoagie.
All right. And is there a preferred way to cut the bread?
You don't cut it.
You don't cut
You're
it at
not a
all.
child.
You
Just
take
eat the whole thing.
loaf and you.
Yes,
Okay. Sounds good.
precisely.
Now I have several possible answers, but I think I believe my best answer would be my first ever novel creation. And if you scroll back to the depths of my Instagram, you will see this photo. The very first photo on Instagram. It is the pinnacle of my creative career. This is the grilled mac and cheese. Now, when you initially hear the words grilled mac and cheese, you might think
I feel disgust.
you might think you have to make some mac and cheese and then put it on a piece of bread and then put another piece of bread on top and grill it. However, that would make an insane mess because the mac and cheese would just spill out. So what you do is you cut out the middle of another piece of bread so that you have just the crust. So you put down one whole piece of bread, put down that crust, and you fill it in with mac and cheese. Put down the other one, and then you grill it. And you get so much gooey goodness out of that. That's the perfect sandwich.
Actually, to be honest, I wasn't thinking about the logistics of how you do it. My first reaction was just pure disgust. So
I'm really surprised that you weren't thinking about the logistics. I'm offended that anybody would think about anything else.
all right. Well, here's our next question. It's from Emily, and it asks, is a hot dog a sandwich? That's the one that we
Now, Emily, I think I would have to answer this question with an affirmative.
were arguing about earlier. Yeah.
I don't believe that a sandwich has to be more complicated than something between two pieces of bread. Honestly, you could bend the definition to be something between two of other things of the same thing. But I think by that simplest definition, a hot dog can be a sandwich.
So we were having this argument earlier. We agreed that a hot dog was a sandwich, but we had differing reasons for it, and I think that's where the rift came to play.
I do believe so.
Because my reasoning was, okay, so the sandwich is named after the Earl of Sandwich, who wanted to eat meat at the gambling table. So he wanted something he could hold in his hand without getting it messy or, having to balance a plate or anything on his lap. And he would request something like this, and they invented this sandwich. So if you were tasked by the Earl of Sandwich to give him something he could eat while gambling at his gambling table without getting it everywhere, and you gave him a hot dog, I think he would be satisfied. So that's why I think it's a sandwich, not
And that's
Lucas's
a personal reason,
which
of
is
preference.
philosophically flimsy. Let's not pretend it's not philosophically flimsy here.
My version of a sandwich is based on a definition, and if the world did not have definitions, then where would this world be?
Spoken like an English major, I suppose.
Next up is a question from Kyle, who says, "Is a hot dog a sandwich?"
Well, I guess we'll never know.
That's a hard one to answer, Kyle. You'll just have to do some further research, I think.
Yeah, we can't give you an answer either way, not even opinions, honestly.
We're not about opinions here.
The next one is from Skylar, and Skylar just says, I would like to say hi to Graves, also to Abigail. Well,
I'm sure they feel very touched by your attention, Skylar.
right. I'm glad that we could deliver this message to those people for you.
Well, that's all of our messages from Instagram. Next up is the new segment of Zander Notes,
where I review something new.
1984. It's one of the most famous books of all time, possibly. It's very important, and I'm going to break it down for you so that we can see exactly what's going on in this crazy thing. There's a lot to go through, and some of it's great, some of it's kind of scary, but we're going to do it step by step to make sure that you feel confident going into your next discussion board about the book 1984. So, the year is 1984, and a huge government takes over everything. The ruling class is called the Party. Our protagonist is Winston Smith, and his job is working at the so-called Ministry of Truth. In the Ministry of Truth, Winston censors newspapers to match what the party's narrative for that particular day is. So if they've said something previously that they want to retract, they have Winston go into the newspaper archives and white it out and then type over it. You see, they didn't have computers back then, of course, so you had to do everything by hand. The party is under the leadership of Big Brother, who is appointed the de facto ruler of humanity. Winston lives in City 17, a nondescript European city. He starts wandering around this working-class proletariat neighborhood. He wonders if all the proles rose up, if they could overtake Big Brother and the party. Winston hates his wife because he is a misogynist. This misogyny is threatened when he meets Julia, a young and spunky woman whom he falls madly in love with. Winston also meets O'Brien, who is a member of the secret resistance against the party. O'Brien tells him everything about how the party works and what's going on, and gives Winston his old crowbar, and sends Julia and Winston off to fight the party. O'Brien tries to teleport Winston and Julia to another resistance base, but only Julia gets through, and Winston has to make the rest of the journey on foot. Heading through the city's canal systems, Winston and his trusty crowbar beat back all kinds of enemies to eventually meet up with Julia again. Julia shows off her cool pet robot dog and gives Winston a 0-point energy manipulator, also called a gravity gun, which Winston uses to throw saw blades at people. Little do they know that O'Brien is actually a traitor and tells the party and Big Brother what Winston and Julia are up to, leading to his and Julia's capture. They then get taken to the Citadel, an enormous building in the center of City 17, for interrogation. Upon arriving, they find it a house of horrors where people are turned into zombie-like creatures called synths that serve only the party. Through mental torture and physical modification, they are changed into grotesque forms. Lots of tortures are waiting for Julia and Winston there. Big Brother reveals his plans to conquer the Earth further, but Brian becomes angry and frees Julia and Winston. As Winston and Julia escape, Winston uses the gravity gun to destroy the Citadel's reactor, blowing it up. Julia's pet robot, Dog, saves them from the collapsing Citadel, but Winston has to go back inside to stabilize the reactor core and avoid blowing up the entirety of City 17. Winston and Julia find out that the party is trying to contact their homeworld to send a distress signal for reinforcements. After a number of events, they find out that an experimental ship called the Borealis has teleportation capabilities that is key to the party keeping their stranglehold on the Earth. However, the Resistance, if they get to the Borealis first, could use that same teleportation technology in their fight against the party. So on their way to capture the Borealis, Julia's dad gets killed and the book just ends there. We've been waiting for the sequel for years now, and nobody knows what's going to happen next, or when, or if the sequel is even ever going to come out. All in all, I'd say it's a pretty good book. It deals with a lot of issues relevant to our modern world, like whether it's okay to kill an enormous daddy longlegs just because it's got a gun attached to its head. It takes place in the year 1984, which is the reversal of the year the book was written, 4891. It talks about surveillance by the government, which can easily stifle freedom. That's why our sponsor, NordVPN, seriously though, don't get NordVPN. They're a US-based company, so they have to report their activity to the NSA and FBI. Use Molvad instead, which is open source, and also you can pay them in euros mailed in with like an anonymous envelope, and they'll never know, so they can't tell the government who you are. Also, they're from Sweden, just like Minecraft. And Orwell thought we only had to worry about the government.
You know, actually coming back from that, I think I might have confused that with another piece of dystopian fiction. I can't quite put my finger on it, though.
I was starting to wonder. Well, welcome back. We've still got some time for some mail, so we're going to read some emails. The first one says, Greetings, Anderman. Where would you say is the best place on Northwestern campus to bunker down and defend yourselves for the impending zombie apocalypse? Still your uncontested smallest fan, Irma Dumas.
Wow. I first of all, I think that's very interesting. Anderman. I think that's a good collective name for us.
Yeah.
A little shorter than Zander and Sander, which takes like 3 whole seconds to say.
We're not changing the name of the show.
No, we're not. Okay. That's okay. And uncontested smallest fan. Yes, nobody has fought for the smallest fan.
Still lots
spot.
of email space, though, if you want to give
Indeed.
it a shot.
Do send us more emails and messages.
The best place to bunker down and defend yourselves for the impending zombie apocalypse. I think my answer is VPH. And there's a lot of possibilities. You want to look for different strengths to play to your own team's makeup of strengths and personalities.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that VPH has enough flexibility with all the different types of environments, both the basement that you can hunker down in, various supplies down there, as well as multiple rooms throughout the building to zig in and out of, to slow down zombies, to wall up as you go along. If you should get caught in a loop, it has 4 different stairwells. You could count them. And just all sorts of exits and entries so that you don't get trapped. Some of the rooms are single entry rooms, but even those will be filled with desks with which you can barricade. So you could go into the room, have the zombies follow you, and then kind of wall them in with desks so that that'll slow them down so that you can get out. And then you can slam the door and kind of contain them there.
Well, I think my answer has to do with some knowledge that I have that not everybody has. There's only one building on campus that has a gun that's capable of firing in it. Now, note that there's no ammunition, and even if there was ammunition, it would only be blanks. But there is a safe inside of a locked room, inside of the theater building, that has a single stage gun in it. It is a real gun, but it's usually only used to fire blanks. I don't know if we've ever used it. So just from having a gun safe alone, I think that's a good solid starting point. Secondly, the extensive concrete basement of the theater building, a very good place to set traps and very good place to put off explosives, because honestly, just trapping the zombies down there and then honestly awesome. What other building is set up for pyrotechnics? Probably none.
Well, I don't know if any of them are specifically set up for that, but I would argue that VPH has a decent basement system. So does Foley, honestly, and Hospital as well. But yeah, there's lots of
none is have so many and such extensive tunnels as the theater building, in my experience.
I think we could argue that, but we don't have to right this moment.
We don't have to right this moment.
Send us in. You know what? I think this needs to be opened up because there are multiple people with more experience on campus than we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a question that's going to need to be determined before this year is out. And so please give us all the knowledge that you have about ways to stay safe, to bunker down on campus, or wherever you might need to bunker down during the zombie apocalypse.
Indeed. Yes. All right. So this last email we have here is from Abigail, and it says, "Dear Zander and Zander, I would like to propose to Skylar that she and I could combine forces in your fan base. With our combined knowing of both Zander and Zander, we will have known you much longer than any other fans and thus be the supreme biggest fan. As an olive branch, I have attached more fan art with both Skylar and me, with Zander and Zander, of course. Together we will conquer Abigail." Now, look at that. Isn't that beautiful art? Just, there's me, there's you.
There's me, and there's some fans.
There's some fans.
I have to say, I'm
Some of our
very
biggest
flattered by
fans.
this picture.
Indeed.
I'm
It's
glad,
a wonderful
I'm glad
picture.
that my suit jacket made it in there.
Yeah. Very iconic. Excellent.
Thank you for that. All right, now that concludes our mail segment. Now, before we go, I'd like to address something that both Zander and I have been wrestling with.
Deep personal issue that we want to come clean about. A struggle, if you will.
Yes, a struggle indeed. We've realized that we don't have a name for our fan base.
Indeed. We have some fans, a handful of intrepid viewers that come every Monday and Friday to watch us make total fools of ourselves live in a way that we can't undo and exists forever on the internet. So we like to commemorate that by giving a name to this group of people, giving a name to fandom.
Indeed. Now, we all know you have your believers, your Swifties, your Calvinists, but we don't have an iconic name for our own fan base, and we need to make one. So here's what's going to happen. You send us a message, whether it's email, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google+,
Carrier pigeon.
anything that you can possibly come up with, a way to send us a message. Tell us your suggestion for what the fans should be called, and make sure you explain in detail your reasoning for why this should be the case. And on Monday, we'll read out the explanations, so make sure you get your submissions in before then, and then we will post a vote online for everybody so that you can cast your own vote and determine what you want to be called. Again, make sure you get your submission in before 5 p.m. on Monday.
And keep in mind, everybody gets one vote except for Landon Van Berkum, who gets 2 votes for operating our camera and streaming software every single day, every week.
I believe that's about all we have. So please remember to do that, and remember to send us other fan mail as well.
So have a great weekend. See you on Monday. Goodbye.